Welcome back to Church Unplugged. I am Pastor Frederick Intimensa. This is a space where we talk about things you don't hear on the pulpit. Today, I'm talking about the rise of online church. Is it a blessing or is it a problem? Stay with me. I want to think out loud for a bit. Not as a critic on the outside, and not as a cheerleader either. Just as a pastor who loves the church and who knows how complicated this movement really is. Because something real has happened, not theoretical. The church went digital and it didn't fully come back. How did we get there? Most of us remember the pivot. Cameras were set up, laptops balanced on music stands, live stream links shared with a mix of urgency and hope. At first, online church felt like emergency medicine, temporary, necessary. And in many ways, it was a gift. People stayed connected when they otherwise would not have. The sick, the elderly, the isolated, parents with newborns, people working night shift, people who had never stepped into a church building but were willing to click a link. I've heard the stories, maybe you have too. Someone watched for months before visiting a church. Someone prayed along from a hospital bed. Someone who had been hurt by church felt safe enough to listen again. That matters. I think we should say that plainly. The question isn't whether online church did good. The question is whether we've mistaken access for embodiment. What is church actually? And this is where things get a little uncomfortable. Biblically speaking, the church has never been content alone. The word ecclesia points to an assembly, a gathering, people called together, not people consuming the same content at the same time. People sharing space, presence, risk. Acts chapter 2 doesn't describe a broadcast. It describes faces, homes, meals, prayers that were heard in the room, bodies together. Paul doesn't write letters to audiences, he writes to communities who know each other's names, conflicts, gifts, and weaknesses. And Hebrews tells us not to neglect meeting together, not because God needs attendance numbers, but because formation happens when believers are close enough to irritate, to encourage, and carry one another. That's slower, messier, and harder to scale. And maybe that's the point. Now let's be fair. Online church does something really well. It removes barriers, it extends reach, it gives teaching to people who might never hear it otherwise. It also forces clarity. When you teach online, fluff doesn't survive. You realize quickly what you actually believe and what you've been assuming people know. And in a fragmented world, online church can act like a bridge. A first step, a place of re-entry. I don't think God wastes any of that. But a bridge is not a house. And that distinction matters more than we like to admit. And here's where the tension sharpens. Online church trains us slowly to think of church as content rather than covenant. As something I receive rather than something I belong to. You can log in anonymously. You can leave without explanation. You can skip the parts that ask something of you. And to be honest, that feels efficient, comfortable, clean, isn't it? But formation rarely happens in comfort. When church becomes primarily something we watch, we lose the friction that shapes us. The awkward conversations, the delayed forgiveness, the long obedience with people who are not curated to our preferences. You can't practice the one another commands of scripture alone. You can't bear burdens, though a screen, in the same way. You can't submit to spiritual leadership while remaining entirely unaccountable. And maybe the hardest truth is this. Online church can keep people spiritually informed while leaving them relationally uninformed. pastors and the pressure to do this. There's another layer here, one we don't talk about enough. Online church places pastors in a strange role. Part shepherd, part content creator. Metrics start whispering. Views, engagement, retention. Things that aren't evil but are powerful. And slowly the temptation shifts. To preach what travels rather than what disciples. To value rich over depth. To trade pastoral patience for digital momentum. Most pastors I know feel this tension, even if they don't always name it. We want to feed the flock, but we are also staring at a camera, wondering who is still listening. That can shape a soul, sometimes not for the better. So I ask, is online church a problem? Not exactly, but it becomes a problem when it replaces embodied community rather than supporting it. When it becomes a destination instead of a doorway. When believers stop asking where they are known, corrected, and sent. The New Testament church was not an efficient one, but it was faithful. And faithfulness often resists optimization. So what's the way forward? What do we do with this? I don't think the answer is that we retreat. And I don't think we should fully embrace either. I think online church works best when it knows what it is and what it is not. It can teach, it can invite, it can connect, but it cannot baptize you into a holy body. It cannot replace elders who know your life. It cannot practice communion as a shared act of reconciliation and hope. The healthiest churches I see treat online ministry like scaffolding, necessary for building, dangerous if left standing forever. They say, come and see, but they also say, come and belong. And so my friends, listening to me on Church Unplugged, online church is good. I want to say it clearly. You are not failing. You are not less faithful if you are engaged in online church. But don't stop there. Ask where you can be known. Ask where your gifts are needed. Not just your attention. Ask, who would notice if you disappeared? Those are church questions. And so tonight, is online church a blessing or a problem? I think it's a gift that becomes dangerous when it forgets its limits. It is a tool that works best when it serves the life of the gathered church and not when it replaces it. The church was never meant to be unplugged from bodies, tables, and shared lives. It was meant to be present. And presence, as inconvenient as it might be, remained one of God's favorite ways to work. Thanks for listening to Church Unplugged. You've been listening and you've been following me. Get a church, a real church, and attach to that church. If you're looking for a church, you can message me. I'll see you next time. God bless.